Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu Rasulullah. It is with the name of Allah, the merciful Redeemer, the merciful Benefactor, the Lord, Cherisher, Sustainer of all the world. It is to Him that we turn. It is Allah who is the sole creator of all that is in existence that we know of, and those things that we are not aware of. We praise God, thanking Him for our brother and our prophet Muhammad. Peace and blessings be upon him. We thank Almighty Allah, bearing witness that Muhammad is our prophet and that Muhammad is Allah's messenger. Muhammad is Allah's messenger and he is our prophet. You can read into that and trying to get a further understanding of what I have just said. And you might want to look up the definition of messenger and of prophet and who sent who. Our belief calls for us to be steadfast in our every endeavor. We as Muslims, certainly during this particular time period on the calendar, we certainly look forward to this period known as Ramadan. It is the time period in which the Quran was revealed to humanity, coming through our brother, one that was just like us, one who was born just like us, and one who became the prophet to all of humanity. And it is through the prophet that we have learned in our studies that we have the same potentials that the prophets, all of the prophets had. Now, some might get a little spooky about that, saying, well, a prophet, some would take me at face value and say, yeah, he said we can become a prophet. We have the potentials to become a prophet. No, I said you have the same potentials. We have the same potentials that the prophet had. No revelation will come to us unless it is the revelation from Quran and how Allah allows us to see what He has given us in Quran and what He has given us in this worldwide masjid, the worldwide masjid. Because we say the entire earth, some say, oh, the entire earth, it is Allah's mosque, it is Allah's masjid. The word mosque is a French word. That should stop you right there. The word mosque is a French word. As we grow, as we bear witness, it is incumbent upon us that we understand what it is that this revelation is giving us. What is being delivered to us? And what is it actually saying? There were many, many books. And Allah says, He says, wal asr. Wal asr. And many will say, wal asr. By the token of time through the ages. And there are many different translations. But just the word wal asr. Wal asr. That's enough right there. The Muslim can take that word if they are understanding that we are not just to repeat words, to recite words from Quran, and knowing that it is the Quran, and we get this spiritual high, because we said walas, or we said Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, or we said Allahu Akbar. That is just not enough just to say words from Quran or to recite even hadith. Our abilities, our quests and desires and appetites have been placed within us, and sometimes you might say, I don't know why I did that. And it could be a good cause or a bad cause. But you might just say to yourself, I don't know why in the world I did that. Because we either are following, as some say, a good spirit or a bad spirit. But our inclinations, naturally, they are inclinations to follow and to observe what it is that Allah has given us for our general rules of order, for our orders, for our commands that He has given us. But it is something He gives us command and He makes it so easy. It's not like it is if you're in the military and it's a time of war and you disobey a command, you could be shot on the spot. You could be killed right there on the spot for disobeying an order. So Allah doesn't kill us. He gives us something to do and He tells us. He said, now you've had this order when you came from the womb. When I first created you, you had an order. You were to be a worker. You were a fish-like little creature that you weren't even aware of yourself when you entered the womb of your mother. But there you were, and you were moving. You were on a mission because you didn't like the environment where you were. Possibly you might have came a little excited. Who knows? We can't remember when we were in the womb. We don't remember when we were a sperm. But one thing for sure, we were the sperm that won the Olympics. We were the one that crossed the finish line. We were the first one to penetrate that egg. And there's much scientific discussion about the sperm, or how many sperms penetrate an egg. But generally we know that one sperm, that's us, we penetrated that egg, and here it is in forms that we knew not before, even before the sperm. I mean, who knows? We look at the atom, and many think that the atom, this was the first thing that was in existence. Adam, A-D-A-M, A-T-O-M. Thinking that was the first thing in existence. And then we know now, Allah has blessed the scientists to go into the world of the atom, and here it is. We have neutrons and protons and electrons, the neutrons and the protons. We have the electrons going around the neutrons and the protons. All this scientific discovery having a function, being alive. And Allah has given us life, and He gives us death. So He says, one lost by this token of time, this time that we look at, oh, today, what are you doing tomorrow? What are you doing next week? For my birthday in 5 months, we look at that little time. And that little time is nothing considering the time that Allah has allotted for the world's existence. Thousands of years we read that Allah explains to us through our various teachers throughout time, throughout the times of all of the prophets. And for us, we heard many different discussions coming from Imam Muhammad, may Allah reward him with paradise and forgive him his sins. As I ask that same for all of the believers throughout the world. So we have heard many discussions about the time. A day with Allah is as 1,000 years with man. So now that's something to think about. Here it is, this token of time. Innal insana lafi khusr. Now, verily, man is in loss. All this time that has transpired, all this time that has came about, that has passed, that we know of, man trying to go back and to look and trying to say that the time began with Adam. It doesn't add up. One of the reasons that you are seeing so much turmoil in our religious institutions, our as man, the religious institutions, is that certainly we know we agree with our Christian brothers and sisters and those of the Jewish faith that God doesn't change. We know for Muslims, Allah does not change. He does not change. Whatever He says, that's it. As you say, that's a wrap. It's going to come into being. It's going to come into existence. But many of the religious leaders, they look, when they read their Bibles or something, in the Quran or the Torah, they look at the people as to how they were looked at in times gone by. Just still looking at the people like it was during the earlier Pharaoh, the Pharaoh Moses, and even beyond that. Not understanding that through time, through man's evolution, through man's movement, that there will be more things that are needed for man in his growth. You can see it naturally. Allah just backs everything up with natural signs. But you see it with the baby. At first the baby doesn't need anything but milk. He can't get that milk, or she can't get that milk, they're upset. Now you can play with them and holler, Gucci, 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 all that, that's okay. But when it's time for that milk, that baby wants that milk. So as you grow, your food intake, the nutrients that your body needs, it requires more. Give me some steak. I want some fish. Give me some fish. Give me some peas and some greens. There's more of a requirement that the body needs. Now then, these atoms and the structure of the atom, every segment of our body, it needs a nourishment. Every facet of our bodies, facet of our life, it needs nourishment. And through time, within that capsule of time, here is an existence of patience and consistency that the man must have, because he is still being created. He is still being formed and shaped. And in that he's being formed and shaped, no matter how that little baby want to get up off the floor and run behind mama and run behind daddy, or his big brothers and big sisters, they still have to wait. Oh boy! When he learns to crawl, I've seen some little babies like speechless on their knees, on those poles, getting across that floor. Rushed, being in a hurry, and want to go along with the big boys. Want to be able to move out. And when they start to walk, and they fall down because they're really trying to get there. Excited about being upright. As the Muslims should be excited about being upright and in the position of qiyam. In the position of standing for something. So the Muslims during this time of Ramadan, we are standing for our Creator. We are fasting for our Creator. Not ourselves. This is the time that Allah has asked us, you do this for me. Do this for me and I do this for you. That's what we said. Hey, well, you do this for me, you scratch my back and I'll scratch your back. Well, some say we should work with God. We should really work with God. No. God didn't need us to work with him. He was working when we weren't even in existence, before he created us. We need to work with our brothers and our sisters. That's what we're to work with. How you gonna work with God? You can't work. You can't even see God. Would you talk to him last? You talked to him, but you didn't see him. You thought about him. You submitted to him when we prayed. But we are to work with each other. Allah has created a social structure. The house, as we spoke about it last week, the house, it is symbolic of a social structure. It is telling man that you must come together regardless of your color, and come together, be willing to work, be willing to sit down and to counsel among each other, have shura among each other. Shura, we have to have this type of discussion among ourselves in order to grow. And because the one that you might see as despicable, maybe doesn't dress the way that you do, maybe doesn't have what you have, if that one has information that will benefit the body, make the body strong. Hey, you're not working your biceps enough, your legs, your upper part. I mean, you look strong, your chest is stuck out, but what about your legs? Can you carry yourself? So one might come along and say, well, this is how you get your legs in shape. One of the first things you do is take the first step around the track, around the block. One of the first things you want to do is support this big body. It's to support the body. The legs have a tremendous job. They have a tremendous job, but sometimes the upper body gets a little heavy. The brain gets a little cocky. The brain gets so intellectually engrossed in itself that it just forget everything else. It forget about the heart of the matter. They forget about what we are here for and what we are to stand for and how we are to love ourselves and to love our families and to love our communities. That's the function. That's the function of the heart and the brain coming together. Your mind. That's how you're to use your intellect. So the legs have to just constantly carry you around while the brain and the heart is giving command. The legs just doing what they're supposed to do. Where you want to go? You want to go left? You want to go right? Okay, y'all in charge. You are the governing body. So in that you're the governing body, make some decisions, man, because I've been driving around this block over and over, and we're about to run out of gas. So that's what our legs do. Sometimes I say, I'm just tired. I got to sit down. My legs just killing me. And as my father used to tell me, may God rest his soul and grant him the paradise, he used to say, oh, okay, you looking at me and you wondering why I'm sneezing like I'm doing and always rubbing down my knees and my legs. He said, keep living. Just keep living and watch. So then we have to do things while we are alive, while the body is functioning good. But the best way for the body to function is to have faith in what Allah has given us through our Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. So it says here, except as have faith and do righteous deeds. Now in this caption, it said do righteous deeds and join together. Now see, you haven't even gotten to the rest of it. It said, and join together. Oh, you want to do your thing, he want to do his thing, everybody got a thing. But think of the old Elijah brothers. It's your thing. No, it's not. Allah is just loaning you matter. And our souls will come to trial. And we're going to stand. One singer say, I stand accused. We're going to be accused of doing good or doing bad, but either way, we will come forth. We will stand before Allah, and we stand before each other now. But it is to our best interest is that we learn from the first word, Bismillah, the Rahman, the Rahim. Merciful. We must be merciful to each other. Imam Muhammad mentioned once he gave an example of a tree. And he said, a tree is merciful to animals. So yes, it's merciful to the animal. It's merciful to the creature. Here the bird is on the ground picking some seeds, and here come a cat. And the bird spots him and flies up into the tree, looking down at the cat. Cat thinks he's sharp. Old cat, old cool cat. He thinks he's sharp. So he runs up the tree at the cat. The cat runs up the tree at the bird. And the bird just looked up, fly away. Just go out on a little limb that seemed to be very flimsy, but just enough weight to hold him, to hold the bird. And the cat thinks he's sharp. I'm going to get him. The cat goes out on that limb, and boom, he falls to the ground. The limb doesn't support him. Then it turns again. Here's the cat on the ground, moving around. And boy, here's a bulldog or a big shepherd or what have you, a pit bull, and they see that cat, boom, cat runs up the tree. Cat runs up the tree, and certain dogs, they can climb a tree to a certain point. But the tree, the limbs won't hold, and it falls. Well, the Imam said, that's just like the masses of people, the believers. He said that tree represents the masses of people. He said, we can go out on that limb after we've been antagonized by the materialists in the world, by the capitalists in the world that has no mercy. But our protection is that tree. And that's what Al-Islam is, a tree for us. So we out there on that limb, and it might seem flimsy to everybody else, but when that materialist come out there on that limb, boom, he falls. Because that limb and where the believer is, where the masses is, he is moved out to an area where he is kind. He sought the limb of kindness. He exhibits his heart and his mind to share whatever he has, and doesn't mind saying, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadan Rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So dear beloved brothers, Muslims, again, we praise Almighty Allah and thanking Him for our Prophet and His Messenger. Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr. We have indeed revealed this message in the night of power. And for the next several appearances before you, we will discuss this word, qadr, because I have suggested that you look at you look at every word in your studies and trying to get an understanding of what it is that Allah is saying to us, and cherishing every bite of that steak. The prayer, our prayers, they are signs of man's movement up and down. Sometimes we are up and sometimes we are down. But according to the fabric of our existence, individual existence, collective existence, we are able to get out. Some will translate the night of power, Layatu Qadr. Some translate Qadr as simply meaning power. But there's another word within the structure of that root word, ka, kaf, kaf, dal, and ray, Qadr. It suggests much more than that. We are looking at Qadr, K-A-D-A-R, K-A-D-R, two words that you should have been in your mind. Qadr, it is a form of regulation. You have a regulator. You have something within a motor that regulates. Some might call it a carburetor. There are different parts of the engine that causes the engine to function. There's a part that allows gas in and allows gas out. If the carburetor gets filled in some of those old cars, you're not going anywhere because it's trash in the line. So within this night of power, within this information that has been given to us to be a guide for all of humanity, the line that is to be within the Siratul Mustaqim, where we ask Allah to bless us and to keep us on the straight path, there are some that has made the path crooked. So Allah comes back and He gives us a regulator. And looking at all of the prophets that have came before humanity, each of them, they were pointing to a beginning, and they were pointing to the present time, and then they were pointing to the future. Then they were pointing to a conclusion. With us, there's a beginning in terms of when we came into existence, and then just as we live right now at this moment, this is the present. But then there's the future. Then there is a conclusion to our existence as we know it, and even our relatives, a conclusion. We are meant from our beginning to the present, to the future, to the conclusion. We are meant and we are here to serve Allah and to keep everything in the order that He has given us. But being man, we fall sometimes. And when we fall, Allah allows us to get up, as I just said, in terms of looking at how we have submitted to Him. And when we come in earnest, when we come being sincere, Allah allows us to get back up. Oh, we can go through the rituals. We can go through the rituals and pop back up, go down, do the little dicker with our fingers, and somebody has the beads. Doesn't matter whether you have the fingers or the beads. The beads not going to make us holy. It's not going to save us because I have some dicker beads. I've seen brothers come before me and they have the misrack in their mouth and this, they think they're really doing something and sure they have a misrack. I know what that is. I see your beads. That's okay if that's what you want, but why you want to brush your teeth out before the public? You learn to brush your teeth at home or in private. That's not it. You're in a big gathering and you just showing people, I got a misrack. The prophets use these. That's okay, but just calm down. Your growth is going to become, or it's going to come to you gradually, but observe those around you. Observe the elders in the community. When you come into a new environment, what I always try to do in observing what it says of the prophet and others, they observe. No one comes in and trying to take over. Well, I'm going to walk in your house and try to take over your house. The little baby will be trying to bite you on the ankle. If you don't have a pet, some people have dogs. The dogs, if you can't bite you, it might pee on you. We have to understand that the house is meant for order. The house couldn't stand unless it was equally sanctioned on all sides. These four sides. And we can make a connection with the 4 birds. Say, take 4 birds and train them and send them out. And here's a season. We look at these seasons. And some say, people, oh, he's seasoned or she is seasoned. They might say, this is a seasoned vet. They're saying that this person knows how to get it done. You can be a basketball player and run up down that floor all you want, being so agile. And the seasoned vet, he's taking his time. He sees the lanes when to pass the ball and do whatever. Man can run his routes playing football and just baffle a young cornerback that just got out there. Because he knows his lanes. They might be playing a zone. And we'll say something, oh, he's in a zone or she's in a zone. Well, Al-Islam, the Quran, it presents a zone for us. And I mentioned 2 weeks prior, I mentioned about the fiery furnace that Abraham was in. That's a zone. Oh, you're going to cut my fingers off? You're going to torture me? You're going to pull my fingernails out? Allahu Akbar. But you don't know that within our teaching laws, even under that duress, you're going to deny, you're going to be like Bilal, Ahad, one God. But Allah understands our duress. He understands our weaknesses. And we should understand that our brothers and sisters become weak sometimes. And we have to assist them if we can. But Allah says, turn away from the ignorant. You see, you are constantly trying to help a brother or sister, and they keep on doing the same thing, then you have to move on. It is the same thing with your family members. You think it didn't hurt Prophet Noah when his son supposedly left him and saw another place of safety and security other than being with his father and with the rest of the family? It hurt him. It hurt us when we see our children go astray. And it's like Allah speaking to the angel and telling the angels to look at all of this wonderful creation. And you know the story, some of you. But say, look at this wonderful occasion in terms of what is happening out here. So, oh my goodness, how in the world could anybody go astray? And we have our children in the house and they're little and we're assisting them in their growth and we're feeding them and trying to dress them properly, keeping them clean. And you just see it in your mind, oh, this child, they're going to be a good Muslim, they're going to be a good engineer, or what have you. We're going to bring them up where they can make a contribution to the society. Then they get out there and they see this world that has been painted with all this glitter, looking so wonderful, and mom and daddy not knowing what they're talking about. And I'm sure that many of our brothers and sisters that came from abroad, Muslim brothers and sisters, you come from your homeland and you come in America, you might have saw the lights, and then you started seeing all of the indicators. You say, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Talking about a test, because if you're in an environment where little children are with their parents, not worried about anything, somebody come up, what do? You see a little child go and grab mama's leg, or hold on to mama's leg, or they'll run to daddy, or they'll run to a big brother or big sister, because they're afraid. See, but now if you're in an environment, supposedly it's an Islamic environment, you don't see what you see here. Certainly you see some darkness now. I know these countries have much darkness. From the prostitution and the little everything else, from the drinking and the drugs and everything. I know it's there. But coming to America, boy, oh, you get an eyeful. You get your test in how dedicated you are to Islam, to Allah. You get a full-blown test. But also in America, you get an opportunity to state your peace. To state your peace. You have the freedom of speech here. I saw in Tennessee a couple of days ago, the Muslims had built a structure, had built a masjid there, and there were those who didn't want the Muslims to even go into the building. They want them to worship there. But through consistency, they have been allowed to re-enter the masjid. And the Imam there, he stated as to how the children wanted to be in the masjid, and he promised them that it would be open. In a few days, some observing the Ramadan today, and inshallah, we will begin tomorrow. We have a moon sighting committee here. And I got a call last night because we were anticipating today, and they were saying it would begin tomorrow because there was no sighting. And some have already begun, but nevertheless, Allah will judge us according to our intentions. Our intentions. Let's not fall out and say, yeah, we started yesterday. Or we're going to start today. Or we're going to start tomorrow. That shouldn't separate us. Allah is going to test us according to our heart. He's going to accept us according to our intentions. You should understand it. It's community life. Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, he addressed the world. He addressed the world that wanted to kill him. And many of the people there in Mecca, all of them, they want to kill the prophet. But some people are just like that cow. You ever see those westerns? When the cowboys come out, especially the cow rustlers, they come out and fire the pistol, and all the cows just start to run. All of them are running. Some that might be separated from the rest of the herd, they see all them running, they take off running too. And many people in areas, they have that cow mentality, that stampede mentality. They don't stop to see what's going on themselves. So here it was in Mecca, these people that wanted to kill the prophet because he was saying, what? La ilaha illallah. Changing things. People who believed in all these idol gods. And we can even go back to Egypt during that time also. They believed in all these idol gods. And there in Mecca, there in Egypt, and other parts of the world, people were worshiping animals. And they were worshiping these animals because they felt, say, well, here's a lamb. So I'm going to cut this lamb up and take this head and put it on me, and take the rest of the skin and put it around my body, and I'm going to become strong like the lamb. So the lamb was symbolic of what they felt was inside of them. Some might have took a wolf. The Indians, we know, have used wolf heads and put it on top of their head. So the wolf is a very communal animal. And the wolf holds a grudge. The wolf will come after you. You do something to his family, you suddenly see that wolf and he can get to you. A wolf. But the wolf can also be very, very aggressive. So people use birds. They will use bird feathers. The bird flies above the eagle. They had the eagle talons, the feathers as you would say. And the eagle has vision. That eagle, isn't it something? The eagle could be miles up in the air, so far up in the air. Not only can they look down and spot a rat or a rabbit, they can look beneath the streams, beneath the lakes, and spot a fish. And swoop down into the water, and it's so beautiful, and just fly on up, right back up into the air. That's vision. Look at these creatures that man has been able to observe. Look how man has come up with an airplane, being able to move up above the clouds. And the eagle is a creature that can fly above the clouds. The human being is to be like this, these clouds, represented in the manner which I'm speaking, as confusion. The believer is able to take the words of Quran with his spirit and with his prayers and with his submission. He's able to move up above confusion. Because you try to find peace, and because you try to bring peace among your family members and among your friends and your neighbors. Because they might say, oh, he's taking the easy way out. Oh, you just don't want to fight for nothing. No, here's a sober-minded person. The words of Quran, they sober us up. And for some, it might be the first time you've been sober in your life. But nevertheless, the words of Quran, and in the Quran, let me point this out before our closing. Within the pages of Quran, there are some that translate it, exactly the way it said. They say, well, in this book, it has the answer for all things. It addresses everything. That's what it says in the Quran, in just a little translation. That's not true. That's not true. The Quran was revealed, listen, the Quran was revealed to address those things that man had written into the words of God, that man had destroyed, that man had dilated the truth. So he added something that he wanted to say. Everything that addressed God and what God's words were. The Quran addresses that. No matter what the religion was, whatever the people were associated with, affiliated with during that time, if they said something in reference to what God said, that's what the Quran addressed. Specifically, there's nothing in the Quran about hip-hop. Nothing there about hip-hop. No, it addresses what your spirit needs. It addresses and it gives you words that will give you a good rest. No matter what you have on today, No matter how beautiful your garments are today, the Quran, that's the best wrapping. And there are those in the society that say, ooh, they sure look good. Ooh, that's a nice man, that's a nice woman. Now, why? Because you are wrapped in the words and in the spirits and in the understanding. You are wrapped up in something that's regulating your everyday movement. God, it gives you power. And it gives the power to those who are not looking for power. You just want to take care of your family. You just want to be in peace. You want to make your prayers. You want to serve Allah more so priority. But you just want to be a human being that looks forward to every day in serving Allah. So in this beginning, in terms of what man is given as being the beginning, and as I mentioned how the religious leader, they have fallen because they are not feeding the intellect of the human being, of those who are in their churches, no matter what their churches are, and even in some masjids. Some people, yes, again, and I say, no, Allah does not change. But in that, Allah has given man an ingredient, a natural urge to serve him from the time of Adam up to now. There have been many, many changes materially, many different needs that the man requires. So within that time period, way beyond Adam, who was not just the first man, but also the first prophet, but not really the first man in his physical form. Adam represents more the one who came in terms of being a good example and where that history was recorded of Adam. Beyond that, you had man in his physical form. When you came into the world, you were in your physical form. We were in our physical form. But doesn't Allah say, even in the book, that somewhat represent what God is saying to us in clarity? It even mentioned that it says that Adam, he became a man when? He became a man when Allah breathed into him a portion of his spirit. The Quran doesn't differ from that. We don't become whole until we accept the spirit that Allah has given us, until we move out. We forgot about what that spirit dictates to us. The real us, as we've been saying, the real us, that soul that is encamped in this body, that's us. We are connected to our Father Adam. And we move throughout time. While us, this token of time as he translated, we move throughout this period, the whole of man. The whole of man, thousands of years ago, one man, the whole of man. Don't look at individuals. Look at these stories in our Quran, in our book, in any of the books that refer to the life of man with reference to spirituality. Look at that as being a story, an example for us to follow and to be successful and to show us what will happen to us if we are not obedient to what Allah has given us. You have had every example, God is saying to man. I've given you every example. I've shown you things that you couldn't even imagine. And you still turn against me? You still pull away from me? So what is wrong with us? The Quran says so beautifully. What is wrong with you? You can't be obedient after now you are seeing clearly for the first time in your life. So dear beloved believers, we pray to Almighty Allah that He bestow upon us His choicest blessings, that we're able to come together as a community of believers wherever we are, and that none should ever be able to pull us away from this truth and guidance and directions and example, this wonderful and most excellent example that Allah has given us in our prophet. Allah says He has made us the most excellent community, the best, the most excellent community, the most excellent community. If you think about that, He has given us His choice, His choicest blessings. So if you're thinking about that, that lets you know that there are other communities. that you're the best community, there's another community. It's like saying, who's the best basketball player? Who's the best orator you ever heard? Who was the best president? If somebody said, who's the best, it lets you know there was something else before this one. So here it is. We are the best community. But that's only if we are submitting to Allah. That's only if our deeds are in accordance with our original pattern, our original nature. Amin.